One, we are live. Hello and welcome to PropTechBuzz, a business podcast on global PropTech, where we talk to founders and CEOs from all over the globe and learn from them how they build and manage successful PropTech companies. Today, I have an exciting guest all the way from Canada, Kurt Goodjohn. He's the co-founder and CEO of DVELE Homes, that is building high-performance, healthy homes. We are going to be asking, what does high performance and healthy homes? You never associate health to home, so that is something Kurt is going to demystify for us. The way I bumped onto Kurt was after reading the Business Insider post. Business Insider came up with a list of 26 hottest prop tech startups of 2023, and Kurt was right there on the top, and that's how I took a chance, approached Kurt, and he was polite enough to accept my invite, and here he is today. So Kurt, welcome to PropTechBuzz podcast. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great as well, Kurt. As this is end of Friday, I've been waiting with the bated breath to have this conversation with you, and I'm looking forward to an interesting conversation for the next 45 minutes or so. So before we delve into DVELE, why don't we get started with a little bit about your background on your founding story of DVELE? How did DVELE happen? What were you doing prior to that? So just let us navigate through your DVELE journey, transition journey.
Sure. Well, first of all, most people don't know, but DVELE is actually Norwegian for loosely translated to dwell. And my brother and I have Norwegian background, as well as our other co-founder, Brandon. He's got a Scandinavian background too. So we named it after that because of the prevalence of prefabrication and modular building in Scandinavian countries. But anyways, before this, my brother and I had a company in Western Canada, and we were building really high-end, super cool modular homes. It's really where we cut our teeth. And in 2016, we actually got acquired in about June of 2016, and which was an interesting experience. Pretty quickly into that, we realized that it was kind of like oil and water between the way we looked at the world and the way the management of the public company looked at the world, and it wasn't going to work very well. It was in December of that same year where I met our co-founder, Brandon. He and I were both talking at a tech conference. I was talking about the way where I thought the future of modular was going to go and automation of prefabrication. He was talking about his experience in building really high performance, healthy homes in the Chicagoland area. And after the talk, he came up to me and said, "Can I buy you a beer?" And I said, "Of course." We went and started talking. He was telling me his story, and he was building by far the healthiest, most energy efficient homes in the country, if not the planet. And but his problem was he could only build 2 or 3 a year. And I understood that fully because my brother and I, Chris and I, started out in this business building homes on site and just traditionally. And at the time, we wanted to build really energy efficient homes. And this was in Calgary, Alberta, where quite honestly, at the time, people didn't really give a shit. It was oil and gas. And so energy efficient homes wasn't really a thing. But over 3 years, we got really good at it. And we saw this trend starting to emerge that, yes, people did want more energy efficient homes, if not for the environment, for saving money on utility bills. So anyways, we understood full well why it was so hard for Brandon, because after 3 years of building homes on site, we're like, this is the dumbest thing ever. There's got to be a better way to do this. And we had seen modular and prefabrication when we went to Germany for school and college, and we saw it everywhere there. And we were back in Canada where it's freezing cold most of the year. We started asking, like, well, why don't we do this here in Canada? And we looked into it, and there's actually quite a few modular and manufactured home builders or companies in Canada. And we went to a few of them and said, "Hey, we've got this project. Can you build it?" And they said, "Sure, we can build it." And that's kind of how we got into it. But anyways, flash forward again to Brandon. He's telling me he can only build 2 or 3 a year. And he says, "I'm thinking of starting a modular company. I've seen what you guys have done, and it looks like it's done really well." And I kind of chuckled and I said, "Well, don't do it, Brandon. It's not public, but we sold our company. And the experience hasn't been awesome with the acquisition. So we're going to start a new company." And I said, "Why don't you join us?" And so the three of us got together. We combined our knowledge of modular, and we were building like the roadster of homes back then. take Brandon's knowledge in high energy efficient and high performance healthy homes. And the idea was we wanted to put them together to create a product that the market had never seen. And our product happens to be a home. So at the time we said we want to build homes that could power themselves off the sun. And in order to do that, they had to be super energy efficient. But when you build a home that's as energy efficient as a DVELE home, you can actually make people sick if you don't think about the health and wellness side of it. And Brandon knew this full well. So the materials and everything that go into it, the ventilation, indoor air quality, all of that has to be thought about. So flash forward to today, we've got what we call the self-powered home. And that's really, it's conservation first approach to the energy usage in the house. Our homes use 90% less energy than a traditional home that's built on site today, brand new home that's built on site. And that doesn't take into consideration homes that were built in the 40s and 50s. Like they're basically just leaking energy like crazy. Even brand new homes are. And on top of that, the self-powered home, we're calling it self-healing home, because the homes we can verify that they are making people healthier. And we're doing all this through a data platform that we call DVELE IQ, which is actually taking 4 million data points every month from every home. And the purpose of that data is to make the homes healthier, more efficient, and smarter over time. So these are learning over time and getting better and making a better living experience for our customers.
Got it. That was a great. Yeah, that was a great intro. However, I'm gonna dig deeper into some of those things that is familiar ground to you, but not to me. Okay, so you need to have a little patience in explaining and dumbing down some of these terminologies. First of all, let's get down to basics, right? So you're talking about modular prefabricated homes. Okay, how are they different from the rest of the homes which are built out of concrete and stuff like that? Could you demystify that aspect of it?
Well, we look at the home as a product, like I said. So our product, we started from scratch. We looked at every part and piece that goes into producing our homes. And we use as a base, we use a metal structure. So all of our structures are like H steel and structural steel to begin with, all recycled. And we build it in a factory. So the way we do it is we take all the components that go into the home and we put them together as like big Lego blocks. So out of the factory, the Lego block comes. It's like the room you're sitting in. That would come out of the factory. We literally have stuff hanging on the walls. The doors are in. Our kitchen cabinets are in. Flooring's in. We do as much as humanly possible in the factory because it's way more.
What is the material of the walls and stuff like that?
Oh, it's conventional. Like a lot of the stuff is conventional, but it's the way that the parts go together. And Brandon's problem, the reason why he couldn't build more than 2 or 3 homes a year at that high performance level, it's very difficult to quality control on site. If you think about the coming and goings of trades, like traditional homes that you're talking about, well, first of all, concrete is horrible for the planet. It's not energy efficient. So the way we looked at it is like if you're in a manufactured environment, it's like building a car. Imagine if every car in the world was built in the dirt on someone's property, out in the sun, the rain, snow. We'd still be riding around in horse and buggies. Right? The automotive industry is really a great parallel to what the housing industry has to get to. And the problem I think that we're facing, especially in North America and the US in particular, where we're focused, is there is a massive housing shortage. And housing affordability is a result of housing shortage. But the problem, the reason why we're here today is because we haven't invested in the home as a product or the means to produce that product. So when we first started out, we focused first and foremost on the product. What is our home going to be? Pieces, but the ultimate product is it can power itself off the sun. It's healthy for our occupants and it's intelligent. The next thing we had to do is figure out how do we manufacture that at scale. And so a totally different process in producing our homes. And that is what we believe is the way to solve this housing crisis. And in parallel, we're also helping to solve the climate crisis through housing. So it's just a different paradigm shift in the way we look at homes and the way we look at producing the homes. And it's been 200 years since really homes have evolved. We're still building the same way we always have, right?
So what's the material, Kurt? I still didn't
the material. So it's a combination. So the structure is metal, and then everything else you can think of. Like we use a drywall type product. So the walls are very similar to what people would see. We're not trying to change the form of the homes necessarily. Like you wouldn't notice when you look at our homes, you wouldn't think they're built in a factory.
Mm.
Trying to complete, like people are designing bubble homes and stuff like that. I don't think that's really going to catch on. We've come up with a better way of producing homes at scale.
Got it. And does it have any regulatory approvals? Like, because you're building something which is very different than traditional homes. So does it? I do not know what are the regulatory approval processes for building and living in such homes.
So we build everything to a standard that is well above the local building code. So again, I go back to the car analogy. Think about anything that you buy today as a product, it's manufactured, right?
Right.
So there's certification bodies that oversee all those manufactured products so that it's safe for the consumer. So we've gone through a rigorous program to get our product certified. As far as I know, we're the only company in the country, if not the world, that's able to build our homes to one singular federal certification level. So our product can be built anywhere in the country. We're really close to getting that finalized. Actually, we've just been going through the process. Before that, we were certified at the state level in the US. Our company in Canada was federally certified to build the product across the country. And so we're replicating that in the US right now, and we're about a couple of weeks away from having our full product with a universal certification. So that's overseen by third-party inspectors at the factory.
Got it. Excellent. Great. So you can place your home adjacent to a regular home and still the governing bodies will be okay with it, right? Is that how it is?
Yeah, and I mean, if you dig into the actual physics and engineering of our product and you compare it to what's done on site, I would put our house up against anything built on site as a superior product from an engineering standpoint. Like I'm a computer and electrical engineer, so at the core of the company, we've looked at this from a science-based approach to building our product. So we can stand behind it.
And what would be a longevity of a product like this? Like for how many years or decades can it last?
We've designed it on paper and with all this data and engineering to last 100 years.
Ah, nice. And let's now understand the details of self-powered and self-healing homes, because you mentioned about self-powered homes, 90% less energy, self-healing homes. Could you so I understand that the product, that this is not concrete, okay, this is a product that is much environmentally great, okay, for the planet. However, what are the interiors that make it consume 90% less energy than traditional houses?
Well, most homes, you think of it like a bucket. Think of a home as a water bucket. Most homes are a bucket with holes in it. So the majority of energy that is wasted in the built environment is through air exfiltration or infiltration. So leaky buildings, right? So, and the reason why that is like I said before, even with Brandon, he was building these extremely airtight, energy tight homes on site. But the majority of homes you just can't build to that level of quality and standard. So they're leaking air. But in a factory environment and with an engineered product, we're able to make our homes leak a lot less energy. I mean, it's, in layman's terms. So the typical home, there's like an Energy Star home in the US. I believe it's 3 air changes per hour. So the air in your home leaks out 3 times an hour. Our homes is 0.6 air changes. Okay. So it's an order of magnitude less. And that's really the main reason why our homes are so much more energy efficient, and we can do it at scale in a factory environment.
Got it.
Then the quality of windows we use, all the different other things that go into it, all the systems that we put into the home. Our heating system is highly energy efficient. We've been fully electrified since day one. And back when we started the company, we got a lot of pushback on that, where people are like, I want a gas range, or I want a gas furnace. I'm going to buy a $2 million home from you and you won't let me have a gas range. And we said, no, sorry. It fundamentally goes against everything we believe in. And so flash forward to today, I wouldn't say we look like geniuses, but we were on the right side of history, I think. And we had to hold true to our convictions that this is the future. And that's kind of starting to come true now today. Electrification of everything. We knew that you had to do that if we were going to do this energy transition as a society and as a planet. Electrification is the most efficient way to do that.
Got it. What about the foundation of these homes? Concrete homes have strong foundations. So, what are your foundations? Like, if a hurricane hits this home, will it survive the impact?
Yeah. So we again we take the engineered approach to everything. So we know what has to be from a force and structural stability of the homes has to be, but the foundation that we have is now actually prefabricated. So we've designed our own prefabricated foundation system that can withstand seismic forces in a place like California, or can resist the uplift of a hurricane force winds in a place like Florida. We have homes that go up into places like Truckee, California, that are designed for the snow loads of 200 pounds per square foot. We actually had a house there recently that it's been I think it's a 200-year snow event, and there's a lot more snow on that house than what it was designed for, and it stood up. So we've designed everything to withstand basically 80% of any forces that are out there, so it can go to pretty much anywhere in the country.
Nice. So in Europe, we have energy labeling for every house here. Okay, every apartment has an energy label, and the data is getting public, so people know at a click of a button. You put in an address, and that it throws you which energy label or band it is in, right? So do they have an energy labeling also in the West, in the US and Canada region? And if yes, you must be right at the top, right? The greener band. So do you want to shed some light there?
Yeah, I mean, self-powered is all about energy conservation. I said that earlier. And what that really means is the homes are so energy efficient to begin with. They don't need as much energy to become self-powered. So once you have that, then you add solar onto it, and then you add battery storage backup, and the homes can run off grid indefinitely because the sun charges the battery during the day, and then the battery takes over at nighttime. So the energy labeling in North America that most people are aware of is like Energy Star. The DOE has a new program out for net zero ready homes. And then LEED certification is well known, but we've designed our home based on the passive standard, which actually originated in the US, but then really took off in Germany. And so all of our homes are designed to that passive standard, which that air changes per hour that I mentioned. Our target is 0.6 air changes per hour or less. And we've had homes that have 0.3 air changes per hour, so they're extremely energy efficient. And like I said, the Energy Star is 3 air changes per hour in order to achieve that. It might actually be 4. So or like 1/10 of that.
Got it. So since you are actually supporting the energy transition revolution, so are you getting a lot of support from the government through grants and tax concessions, because you're leading the movement, right? So is this something that the tides are in your favor in this aspect?
Yeah, so we're working on some pretty incredible programs right now that are going to allow us, like our plan is to open 10 factories around the country over the next 5-10 years. And we were actually approached by some individuals at the federal level to help finance that. And so up until, about a year and a half ago, we kind of flew under the radar with all the stuff that we're doing. We wanted to perfect the product first. Then we wanted to make sure that we could produce that product and produce it in a profitable way before we really started to push. And so over the last 12 to 18 months, we've really been out there telling people, here's what we have. And the ultimate idea here, and from day one, was the self-powered home was just a kind of a means to an end. Ultimately, we want to build full communities of self-powered homes and have those homes, think of them like big, large batteries for the grid. So we want to add more storage capacity to every single home. And then those communities become we want to be one of the largest aggregators of power storage.
Right.
So those communities then become a resource to the grid, which is necessary in order to actually have the transition happen.
Right. So just as with any new disruptive product, So there are early adopters and then there is mass consumption, right? So I'm sure there are early adopters who are proactively opting for your product. But what about user population awareness? Are people aware of such a thing? Are they proactively going ahead and making these decisions, or is that still a friction on your end to educate the market and educate people for opting for such a product?
I mean, it's funny. We've been in this world of modular since 2008. So I think when we really got into it in a big way. And I remember back in the early days in our first company, we spent 90% of our time educating people on, of course, this is better product. And they're like, well, it's a glorified trailer. Why wouldn't you just build a custom stick built home? And you flash forward to today, we don't really spend any time educating the consumer. They're already educated. People are out there, like we get thousands of leads a month of people coming to us saying, I want to build a new home. They realize how difficult it is to build a home and how sort of antiquated traditional home building is. So I do believe that the paradigm shift has happened. We have some amazing initial clients. The process wasn't perfect in the beginning, right? We were developing this product, and so we had early adopters that believed in our mission, and they were fantastic customers for us. We've figured it all out now, and we're starting to get developers coming to us, which is the ultimate goal is to take like that idea where we were building the roadster of home in the first company. We really understood. That's where we cut our teeth to understand how to do this. DVELE was all about building what we kind of use as an analogy, our Model S. We started with that and sold these to individuals, one-off homes to perfect the product and the process. We told our early investors that once we figured that out, then we would peel back some of the really expensive like appliances and finishings inside, and we'd have our Model 3. So we call the higher end product our advanced line. And then we have our essential line now, which is really targeted at building communities. So we partner with developers, and we build these communities with those partner developers, but ultimately we're still selling the home to the end user. The client is our target, who we're speaking to about our brand and about the product. And the developer path is the path to scale. And we're getting developers that want to build thousands of homes a year with us. And so the demand is there. Full market adoption is there. People understand that this is a better way to build. And so now we need to get more homes out there. We can't service the demand today with our current facilities that we have. So we're raising capital to open more facilities around and factories around the country to meet the demand. So that I would say that long-winded way of saying, like the market has changed significantly from when we started back in 2008 to where we are today, where this is what people expect. And everything that you buy is manufactured, and it's fast, and it's to an engineered specification. So why wouldn't our homes be built this way? I think that's the mentality of the market now.
Exactly. And even if people do not care about climate, they will care about their own pockets, isn't it? So,
our homes have no energy bill.
Right, exactly.
I was talking to someone yesterday or the day before, and their utility bill is $650 a month. And if you look at that from a mortgage perspective, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars of value added to your home if you don't have a utility bill, and self-powered accomplishes that.
Right. Yeah. So I have so many questions, right? Bear with me. So first is, let's talk about cost. Okay. A cost of building a house vis-a-vis the same house with a regular house, right? So what is the cost difference between them? Is it more expensive than a regular house?
It used to be, no longer. We in some of the markets that we're building in, we've had clients come to us that were getting quoted like $800 a square foot to build a house, and this is on our advanced line, right? So these were the direct to consumer sales, and we would be anywhere from $450 to $650 a square foot. So we'd be building a home on a lot in a community like Ventura, California. That home would be $550, $600 a square foot from us. Right. The house next door was taking 3 years to build and costing $800 a square foot. It wasn't self-powered. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't intelligent. It was just a basic house. So that was an inflection point that started to happen that we recognized about 3 or 4 years ago, where we're before in our first company, we were probably more expensive, but the quality of the product was better. Now we're building a product that you couldn't build on site and for less money than what you can build as just a traditional home for. So that's the advanced line, and our Model 3, the essential line. Our target there is to have a home built for $250 a square foot. And really, we started this company to make a positive impact on society. We felt that homes were the nucleus to a well-functioning society. And with this housing crisis, so many people are focused on, we need to build cheaper. That's not the solution. We have to build better. And we have a better way of building that product so that we drive prices down. And so that's our target, $250 a square foot for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in the range. You're talking, can't do the math, man, $500,000 for a nice 2,000 square foot home. That includes foundation, our proprietary foundation system, all the work that has to be done on site, and the home itself to move in. And it's really, that is the impact that we wanted to get to. Because building 100 homes a year is great. It's a great company, which is kind of where we're at now, to building, but it doesn't make that impact that we wanted to. We want to build tens of thousands of homes a year. And it's focused on today, the middle income families, hardworking families, nurses, firefighters, teachers who can't afford a quality home today. That's what the essential line is for. So we're going to be building these communities focused on that missing middle.
Got it. So just as with electric car adoption, the biggest concern the biggest concern was primarily, what happens if I run out of battery, right? So similarly, what if bad weather or you don't get sun for days? How does the house charge itself?
So the program that I talked about at the federal level, the federal government that we're working on, it is really to finance factories for us. But ultimately, the end goal of building factories is to get more homes in the world, and more homes in the world, and build these communities of self-powered homes. DVELE wants to own the power systems in those homes so that it further reduces the cost to the buyer, the end user. Plus, we still offer them that free power or power share with them. But we really want to increase the storage capacity of every home. So when I say these homes are big batteries, I'm not talking about just like a Tesla Powerwall that's 12 kilowatt hours. We're talking about hundreds of kilowatt hours per home. And that is not for the homeowner. That is for the grid. So it's really opening that resource to the grid for this energy transition to push and pull power off of the grid. So it's really going to be, how do we generate power in the country, in the world? It's still going to be natural gas or natural resources like gas, natural gas, or even oil-driven power production, but it's centralized, it's more efficient for the foreseeable future. Then you add in natural resource or clean energies such as solar and hydro and wind energy. All of that has to be stored, right? So I don't think it's not going to happen overnight where we just go fully clean energy. We still need to figure out how do we store this energy. And even if it's a gas power plant, they're going to want to store energy in these resources so that during peak time they can pull it back out, so they don't have to build another power plant. So that's the homes will produce energy through solar, enough for the user, but these batteries are really going to get the storage is going to get recharged off the grid. That's the strategy.
Got it. So how many houses have you already built, manufactured, and sold in the last?
So since we started, like the first year when we sold our first company, and then we went down and we bought an existing operation. That first year we kind of left it alone just to kind of see what was good about it, what was bad about it. There's a lot of bad about it, but we just let it operate. But over those past 4 years, I mean, we got going in 2018. We raised our first amount of capital in 2019, got off to the races, and then COVID happened. But we still have managed to double our revenue every year. We built around 270 modules to date.
Wow.
So we really took, I think, a responsible path to growth, because we spent the first couple of years just perfecting the product. It wasn't about production.
Right.
because there's lots of examples of companies out there that tell a big story, go sell a lot of stuff, and they can't produce.
Right.
So I think we're responsible about the way we went about it. We're at the point now where we've perfected all that. These new factories that we can build up to, we're modeling 1,500 modules a year per factory. But in theory, in the simulations with all the automation that we want to add into it, they can do around 7,000 modules a year.
Wow. And with scale, the cost would definitely come down, isn't it? Am I right in my assumption? Or?
Yeah, of course. I mean, really, but the way I look at it is not necessarily about the cost coming down, it's about the quality going up. So we're going to be able to reinvest in the product over and over with scale. The economies of scale, our input costs come down. So it's a mix of, do we bring our prices down, or do we increase and add better materials and better building science that goes into it? So I think what we want to do is we just want to focus on producing a fantastic product, highest quality for a price that's affordable, and that no one else could touch. You could never build a home like ours on site for anything close to what we're building, even today.
Right. So where do you see our further improvements? Okay, is there a lot that can be done in this roadmap of yours?
We're scratching the surface right now. They talked about what the wall finishes were. We use drywall today. We want to move to magnesium oxide board in the near future. But I look at the manufacturing of homes as really as a means to an end to a bunch of other ancillary things where we really become a building material science company. So inventing new products and a lot of the building industry products are petroleum based. And I think that is a function of the fact that the traditional home building industry, their only tool in their toolbox has been to buy cheaper materials. And over time, those cheaper materials have become more and more unhealthy. They're petroleum products. They're making people sick. They're off-gassing. And we know that there's ways to produce products more from a natural process. So we're looking at different ways to create different materials for the walls. Over time, I think that supply chain becomes more and more natural, and we can drive that. That's a $3 trillion market just in the supply chain of building materials.
Right.
So if we could make a dent in that, there's a big opportunity there. And so that's more around the health and wellness. Our software, DVELE IQ, I think is a huge opportunity. Like I have an Oura ring, and I'm the guinea pig of it, but it's tied into the brain in my house, the DVELE IQ brain in my house. So,
could you repeat that? Which ring? What's the name of the ring?
It's an Oura ring, so it's like a smart ring. It's got a chip in it.
I see.
But it's monitoring my heart rate, my sleep patterns, my body temperature, and then that's feeding into DVELE IQ. So like our software team sees my sleep patterns, my heart rate, and all this stuff, which is kind of creepy. But right now, and that becomes anonymous, all that data eventually. But you take that data set and you correlate it with the information coming from the living environment, like time of day, temperature in the room, indoor air quality. And there's science behind this, where a good example is at nighttime, a lot of people are double occupants in the master bedroom, and CO2 levels rise dramatically.
Right.
No one knows it, and it has a negative effect on your ability to think.
Right.
So DVELE IQ takes all these different data inputs and data monitoring, and can correlate it and look at, like for me, for instance, I wake up all the time in the middle of the night thinking, but the home over time will learn, well, you're always waking up, Kurt, at 2 a.m. and not going back to sleep. So will you let me play with some of the variables that we know from science that helps people sleep better? Lower the temperature by a degree automatically, increase the fresh air into the room. And over time, if I'm getting better sleep, I'm going to be healthier. And that's a better living experience for me. I'd actually pay for that. So there's all these cool services that we think past the transaction of buying a home, the lifetime of living in the home is really what we want to improve over time. I think that's a big opportunity, and we're developing all that today.
Right. And also I feel, and let me correct me if I'm wrong, prefab houses by its very nature are more likely to design smart and healthy homes than traditional houses, which needs to transition or needs to have these electronics embedded on top, isn't it? Because you by design can incorporate some of these features, isn't it?
Of course, it's I go back to the car analogy. Like, imagine if those cars would be, maybe the Model T would be the car they were driving, but it
Right.
wouldn't have evolved. And the idea of having a data rich environment that people are living in, it's again similar to he's no longer with the company, but a friend of ours, and he was our past CTO. He always used the analogy of like a check engine light is in a car. Why isn't there a check engine light parallel in homes? It's because there's no data in homes. The smartest thing in a home is the thermostat. And
Right.
so when you incorporate data into the living environment, it's the same thing as when they incorporated data into automotive industry. That's when you saw cars start to accelerate. The quality, the price was driven down. And so this is all the stuff that we believe is going to drive this revolution in housing.
Excellent. Very, very exciting. It just just boggles my mind. Opened it to a whole new world. Um, so what's the consumer journey today? What's the like? How do people approach you? Like, what's their buying cycle and delivery and stuff like that? How does it work out?
Well, so like I said, we get like 3,000 leads a month, and we can't handle it. So some of the people are not getting a great experience. We are automating, sort of like we're trying to focus the leads down to people we know we can service, and the rest we're just saying, hey, thank you, I'm sorry we can't service you right now. But in the ideal case, someone comes to our website, they're educating themselves about what we're here for. We really want people that are aligned with our mission, and I mean that's it's growing more and more. People are looking for solutions that are better for the planet, better for them. So we're kind of in the right place at the right time and put ourselves here. But anyways, so they are educated. They start to look at a floor plan. We've developed what we call Design Studio, and that's going to evolve over time as well, get smarter. So think about coming on in the future state. You come onto our website, you click a button, you go into the Design Studio, fully immersive, almost virtual reality type experience. I don't envision people putting face masks on to do it, but on your screen, you can walk around, you can see, make your selections. You're getting updated in real time what the price is, what's included in the home for that price. And at the end, literally you can put your credit card in, put your deposit down, hit order, and that we've created parametric model has a lot of data in it too. So it's a data-driven design process because we want all that data in the model so that it can automate the production process. So future state, and half of this is built already. You just can't come on and click order and buy a home. It'll go straight to the shop floor, to the factory floor, and the automated process will start to build the home. Today, people are doing that, and they're getting a price for what they're selecting. Then it goes to our sales team. We have multiple meetings with them. So it's a kickoff meeting. They meet our design team and our project management team. They go through a process of finalizing their selections, making any tweaks they want to their home.
Wow.
Then they get a contract, and 4 months later, once we start production, their home's done. We want to get that down to 24 days.
Wow.
But even
very similar to ordering a Tesla, no?
Yeah, I love the analogy is perfect, right? And it's funny, we a lot of the stuff we're doing today we came up with a decade ago in our first company. And we didn't have the resources, we didn't have the backing to do it a lot. But that's when Tesla started coming, and we're like, this is what we're doing. We're doing what Tesla did, but we didn't have any money. So I do think that's it's a great comparison for sure. It's what we're doing, but for the housing.
And you're solving a much bigger problem than what electric cars are solving, because homes are energy guzzlers, no? So that is the biggest impact that you could do to the world. So just curious, you mentioned about developers are developing with you. What does that arrangement look like with them?
So we have found, and the stat is roughly like the top 10 home builders in the country who build a lot of homes, in the US at least, they only build 1/3 of the homes in the country. The other 2/3 of the homes are built through traditional developer builders. So people that go and buy a plot of land and they get it entitled and they build 10 homes or 100 homes. And they're really struggling. And a lot of them, they're very, very good at the development process. They go buy the land, they get it entitled, they do all the the deep services, roads, all that sort of stuff. Where they're falling down and more, and they're tired of it, is hiring the people to build it on site. They just can't find the people, or the building code is getting more and more stringent, so they're having trouble doing it, even getting the house built, but definitely having trouble building it to a cost that's affordable to people. So we're out there bringing, I think, a great solution to a partner. We want to partner with them because we're not a developer. We've done small developments, but we want to focus on what we're good at, which is the product and the technology and the solution to bring to the end user. So developers are coming to us. We're now outbound looking for partnerships as well. We've partnered with Green Builder Media, which is a fantastic group of people. They've been in the green building space. They're pioneers. They've been in it for decades. And we're out there selling this idea that it's called Transcend Communities. So it's a collaboration between Green Builder Media and DVELE, where we're saying, come be a Transcend developer. Come to us. You do it. So market it. We'll create this community of communities through Transcend. So we're getting a lot of traction there, where developers are talking to us like, we are just so tired of building the homes. So this is fantastic. And they've got lots of land banked. This is the way that we have to do it if we're going to make a dent in the needs of housing today.
Right. So again, so while you are competing with traditional housing, there is also traditional banking, right? So there is mortgages, loans. So have the banks opened up to the idea of offering mortgages to such houses?
Yeah, it's funny. I go back again to our first company in Canada, and it was like smashing your head against the wall trying to get them to understand and change the way they're doing it. It's just mortgage laws in Canada; they just couldn't. When we started in the States, there weren't many either. But in the U.S., everyone's a little bit more inventive in the U.S., I would say, and less conservative. So we started talking to banks when we first got down here, and they're open to it. Today, there's lots. So we've actually partnered with one bank in particular where we are trying to incorporate, and this is a huge opportunity too, just to make the experience effortless and frictionless for the end user. So come to that design studio, you'll go to a section as pre-qualifying. That'll be run through a bank, totally anonymous and secure, but they'll get pre-qualified. That comes back to design studio. Yes, you're qualified for this amount. And then they're financing us in the factory to build it, but they're also securitizing themselves on the property of the home buyer. And then the modules get to site and it's just a traditional mortgage. So that's already happening today, just not as seamless as we'd like it through Design Studio.
Right. Got it. So if somebody is going to Zillow and looking at houses, okay, and they find your houses, how do you position yourself? Of course, the other extreme is traditional houses. What kind of houses are your houses? Like, are they dwell houses or I'm sure there are competitors as well, but how do you position yourself? What do people call electric houses, or what is it?
I don't know what they call us. We're just calling them homes. Smart, intelligent, healthy homes, right? I mean, people use modular, and literally for decades, we've had the argument of we should stop using the word modular.
Right.
And then we go, why? Lean into it. These are modular homes. Yes, it's not grandma's trailer anymore.
Got it.
I think people are just coming and they're looking at the solution, the holistic view of what the product is.
Got it.
Less so than how's it built, or is it modular, is it traditional, is it stick built? People just want a better way to get a better home.
Right.
Fundamentally. So we're to date, it's been 100% inbound. We've hardly spent anything on marketing because we spent all of our time and energy on the product and the processes to produce the homes. We will start now. We're starting to do a lot more outbounding and marketing. We haven't needed to market really because we couldn't even service the demand that we're receiving today.
Right. Got it. Thank you. So we understood what DVELE does. Great story. Just give us a sense of the ecosystem on what other players are also doing in similar fashion. What does the ecosystem look like? both in US and Canada or globally? Have you seen players operating in the same level? Just give us a sense of how it is out there.
Without naming specific companies, I mean, there's a huge wave, and we've stuck around long enough to be in the right place at the right time. There's been a lot of companies that it's a great idea, but it's difficult. It takes a ton of grit and staying power. Yeah. The big thing I see that's happened over the last 5 years maybe is that venture capital and private equity, there's investment going into it now. And unfortunately, there is what we call dumb money going into somewhere that's just too much money, and then people waste it. They're good at raising the money, and they're really good at spending the money. But there is investment going into it, and that's really going to help push this over the edge. Where in the past, there's been people that tried and failed over and over, and it kind of went away. It's here to stay now. So there's competitors, but it's such a huge market. We can all do really well. Some are focused on the lower end, lower quality, which is really hard. Others are focused on super high end and lower volume. I think we've developed sort of the widest product offering that you can do, from not super high end, but like the Model S versus the Model 3, that range of product for housing, with the consistency of what we care about being those pillars of energy efficiency and health and intelligence. Does that answer your question? And they're all over the world too, for sure.
Yeah. I just wanted to know, like, how many prominent or major players, like, are they in single digits or double digits, or how is it?
Well, there's hundreds now.
Hundreds.
There's hundreds around, that pop up every day. There's maybe a dozen that are sort of the leaders. I think you mentioned we were in that top 26 or whatever of PropTech companies by Insider.
Right.
No idea how we got on there. I never talked to anyone, but it was great to be recognized, because like I said, we kind of flew under the radar for the first several years of the company.
Right.
So there maybe are a dozen, I would say, that we get compared to all the time.
Got it.
But on the surface level, we get compared to companies that build like paneled walls, so prefab. And that I always say the spectrum of prefabrication is everywhere from a 2x4, which is prefabricated from a tree, through to like wall panelization. And on the furthest end of prefabrication is modular. And we've always believed that you do as much as you can in the factory, and that's modulars. I think it's going to be the best solution. But the combination of prefabrication, so modular with panelization for things like our foundation walls are panelized, our garages are panelized. That's I think the real solution.
Got it. So you mentioned about so there is a lot of upfront investment here, right? So this is for investors. Are you getting funds from the climate tech fund? Is that fair to say, or you are not a core climate tech fund attractor or something of that sort?
It's a little bit frustrating, because we've been in this day one for impact, right? It's in our DNA, and we are doing what we're doing to make this positive impact on the world through housing. We haven't had a lot of interest from impact funds, and that's probably my fault. Like, I don't know anybody. A couple of Canadians and a hockey players from Canada and a basketball player from Chicago got together, and no one knew who we were. We raised our first round of capital through just some folks that liked us as people, and they're a big real estate fund, but they also believed in our mission. That was the biggest thing when we were talking to investors, and VCs kind of just wrote us off as home builders. They didn't. I don't think they saw the bigger picture here.
Right.
But our main investors are a fantastic group of people. They're large. They're like a $10 billion real estate fund, and they see the writing on the walls.
Right.
And they believe that you have to build better and faster and drive costs down. And so they've been super supportive. The Marvin Windows family is other investors, but we've been talking to them for 15 years and just developing a relationship with them. Finally said, like, we're a company that's investable now, and we'd love for you guys to help us. And so we've got some great stewards of industry guiding us. We are now talking to some larger funds that we need to raise at least $100 million in the near future. we went out to try to raise a round of capital in October of last year, and we timed it perfectly for the worst time to raise money. So we stopped kind of at the end of the year trying to raise money and just refocused on producing what we had, supporting from our existing investors, and now we're out there again raising capital. But a lot's changed since October of last year, and it's just the amount of opportunity we have in front of us. This funding at the federal level is incredible. So I envision that we will get. I want impact investors. We just need to get in front of the right ones.
Right. Yeah. I was just looking at a report where the funding allocation to impact has gone up. Okay, so I'm sure somebody is listening to you, closely observing you. I think it's a matter of time. Great, excellent. So let's close this conversation with understanding your near-term visions in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. How does it look like? Where are you setting your eyes into?
Well, we set this goal at the end of December 21, that we would finalize the last pieces of the puzzle, which is really focused on production. And by the end of 2022, we're going to raise money so that we can go start opening factories. Kind of told you what happened there, but we paused that. We're there again now. There's going to be some news coming out about our next factory in the States. Nice. So that'll be over the next 12 to 18 months where we're getting that thing up and running. Probably take 24 months before we're actually producing out of there.
Right.
That factory is going to be everything that we learned in our first factory on steroids and with more and more automation. So we've never believed in going and just fully automating a factory. We believe in progressive automation. Right. We've already automated the first couple of phases or cells of our manufacturing process. This next factory is going to be about triple the size. It'll have at least double the amount of automation. We're going to learn a lot from that. And then from there, we're talking with at the state level with the governors of Montana, Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, Texas. We're working our way both from the north to the south and west to east. And over the next 3 years, I would like to have another 2 factories open. And over the next 5 to 10 years, we want to have 10 factories around the country. And really, it's staggering the number of homes that we can start to build, and that's where we really achieve our original mission of driving this energy transition and creating a positive impact for the future. It's really for our children, right, and our children's children. Why we're doing this.
Yeah. So a regular factory can churn out how many homes in a year?
So without the automation, we feel confident we can do around 600 homes.
Wow.
600 modules a year. With the automation, double that for sure. Wow. But really, when we're looking at it from a simulation standpoint, on paper it says one thing, but in reality, who knows? But it should on paper be able to do about 7,500 modules a year, each factory.
That's pretty impressive.
Thousands of homes a year, and every home that comes out of there is self-powered. So over time, we want to be, like I said, one of the largest aggregators of both power generation and power storage, especially in the built environment.
Nice, awesome, mind-boggling. Excellent. This was a great conversation. You mentioned about, just curious, you mentioned Germany a couple of times. What's your relationship with Germany?
Well, my brother and I both went to college in the States on hockey scholarships.
I see.
And I mean, a couple of guys, like I said, we grew up in Calgary, Alberta, and our parents were teachers, and we were fortunate enough to work our asses off and be good at hockey and got these scholarships. But it just opened our eyes to the world. And we went to a place called Union College. It was a small liberal arts college. I got a computer engineering degree. But we spent time, we got to go on a term abroad in Germany, and it was just like blown away. Just got to see the world, and it just really gave us that bug, right? But my brother then went on to play pro hockey after college. Wow. And he ended up going to Germany to play. He was actually in Munich where he played hockey.
Oh, nice.
And the catalyst, though, to getting going in business, we always talked about wanting to start a company. His wife was pregnant with their first child, and they decided to move back to North America. She's from New York. We're from Calgary. They moved back to Calgary to have their first baby. And my brother called me up after he kind of retired from hockey. He's like, pretty miserable. I was like, I don't know what to do with my life. This is all I ever wanted to do. What do you think about starting a company? I was living in Boston. The only 2 years I've ever worked for someone was my mentor, basically in entrepreneurship, a company called Synergy Investments, and Dan taught me everything I knew at the time. And I went to him and said, "Hey, my brother wants to start a company. I think I'm going to go." And his jaw dropped, and he's like, "Well," he was supportive. So I moved back to Calgary and we started this together. But it was all because of their first child. It's pretty cool. But Germany was where we saw modular for the first time.
Yes.
Engineering, like Germans are such wonderful engineers, and
yes.
Science based. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing here today really came from Europe to start.
That's correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, this brings us to the end of a very, very fascinating conversation. As I said, it was eye-opening for me in a lot of ways, opened my mind to a whole new world. Thank you so much, Kurt. And I'm so excited to see such players like you who are changing the world for good. And all the best. And hopefully in a couple of years, we'll see more action at your end. And maybe hopefully you'll come back again on this podcast to share.
Yeah, we'll go together. It would be awesome. Thank you for having me.
So with that, thanks again, Kurt.
Thank you.
See you around.